For more on this, we are actually going to turn to two other guests, Ben Friedman and Michael Szanto. They are standing by. Ben is a foreign policy fellow at Defense Priorities, and Michael is a foreign policy and North Korea expert. Let's start with you, Ben. What do you think about the vocabulary that was used by President Trump, calling this a document and not a deal? And what do you think that entails for the near term?
Who knows? We know almost nothing about what's in this agreement, except that it says that the North Koreans agree to work towards complete denuclearization of the peninsula. They didn't agree to denuclearize, they agreed to work towards it. I would point out that the United States has agreed to abolish its nuclear weapons under the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Agreement, the NPT, and we're a long way from doing that. So I don't think this means much. I think we should slow down a little bit and put away the pom-poms and wait to see what the details are of this agreement. I don't really think much has changed yet.
Okay, and Michael, I'm actually going to turn to you. So we want to put away the pom-poms and focus on North Korea and North Korea's track record. We know in the early 2000s, North Korea signed six-party deals. Those deals failed several times. Why? Because North Korea went ahead with nuclear tests. Why should we trust North Korea? Signing a document, big hurrah, like you said, pom-poms, tons of reporters in Singapore right now watching this. Do you really believe or trust this dictator?
Well, that's a very good question. They're a very difficult government to read, let alone trust. I do agree with that. It is possible there's cause for hope here because the North Korean government was on a head-on collision course with the U.S. government. And if it came to war, they would not survive. The leadership or the government would not survive. They would basically die. So they may have come to their senses. This might be a change of path. History may reflect that the Chinese have played a big role, but I think it's a little early for the pom-poms. I can't disagree with that. We don't know yet exactly the details, and there's cause for hope, but I would be cautious before we say this is a done deal, and this time it's different.
Thank you. And Ben, do you think that this is just a whole big win for North Korea, legitimizing the region? And do you think that, if anything, for North Korea, what are they getting out of this? What could be the end goal, the commitment? Is it just economic sanctions being removed? How is this a win for North Korea?
Well, again, I don't think they've won anything yet, but what they want, I think, is obviously a relaxation of sanctions and an opening of trade, and they want security guarantees from the United States, which Trump said he was maybe going to offer. Not clear exactly what that means. And presumably they would like to see a lot of the United States troops removed. There's actually 23,000 about now, not 28,000. And presumably they'd like the United States to go even lower. Let me just add, I think the question is not just can we trust them, the question is should they or can they trust us? We are signing an agreement with them. We have to get them to go along with it. For them to denuclearize, they have to believe in the security guarantees, and I don't think they do. I don't think there's any way that this administration can convince them to give up that insurance policy. That's the way they look at it. So I'm very skeptical that they'll agree to denuclearize legitimately, or at least that they'll do it if they agree to it.
That's actually a perfect segue to my next question. When we're talking about the United States and past deals, the Iran nuclear deal, the fact that it did have a sunset clause of 10 years, but it did have denuclearization in the cards. Do you think that right now, going forward, any type of deal with North Korea, you'd have the Iran deal as the basis, the minimum threshold for anything going forward? Michael, if you can answer that question.
That's tricky. I mean, obviously, we're pulling out of that Iran deal. That's a deal that the president has rejected many times. Many people have seen it too weak. What makes the issue strategically on the Korean Peninsula different and more challenging has first and foremost been the conventional artillery aimed at Seoul, which makes North Korea, the military option for us against North Korea, always a challenge, which is like the alternative. I don't know. It's difficult because our government has rejected the Iranian deal, so I don't know if that can be used as a prototype. I think the difference here in terms of security guarantees is that the Chinese government can play a major role in influencing the North Korean government and even reassuring them. And I think they're the ones with the greatest leverage, because without China, North Korea doesn't have anything. And I believe that people badly underestimate how important it is to China to prevent a war on the Korean Peninsula, because it's at least as bad probably for them as us. But as far as finding a good model for a nuclear deal with North Korea, it's a little bit challenging. But if North Korea has decided to take a different path, I think that there are solutions that the United States and other countries, including China, can come to develop. And I think a solution is possible. And unfortunately, I think that the nuclear arsenal might mean something more to the North Korean government than just a security guarantee. So hopefully they've taken a different path. And hopefully this is not some sort of deception on their part.
Okay, great. Thank you, Michael and Ben, for this wonderful discussion. And it's early in the morning, so thank you for joining us.